Yeah.
I'll start with you. Do you agree with these rankings?
They're good rankings. Teofimo doesn't just replace Lomachenko because it's his first real good win against a top opponent. I would say, if anything, Tyson Fury looks a little low to me because pound for pound is one thing, but what we really mean is division for division.
Yep.
You know, if you shrunk Tyson Fury down to the same size as all these guys, fine, but at heavyweight, you can have a size advantage. And I think that counts in his favor, even in a pound for pound way. For a heavyweight, he is better than a couple of the guys on that list are for their divisions. So that's the one thing I would say.
I got serious questions about Errol Spence at number 4 because of that car accident, and we don't know how healthy he's going to be, and he's been inactive. I don't think you stay on the list just because you've been inactive based on the last time we saw you, particularly when you have an accident, and that might have rattled you to some degree. We don't know how healthy he's going to be. That remains to be seen. I agree with you about Tyson Fury at 8. I think that's entirely too low. I am sold on Crawford, and I'm really, really sold on Saul Canelo Alvarez.
Yep.
This man is something special. He can take a punch. He damn sure can give it. We still haven't found James Kirkland in a long time.
Hey, by the way.
I mean, what Canelo Alvarez did to him, 7-Eleven couldn't find this brother. We haven't found.
Dre Spec the Boxing here with another video. As always, like, comment, and subscribe. Also hit the bell notification, that way you stay up to date on the latest content as I add it to the channel. All right, let's jump right into this pound for pound that ESPN First Take went in on. And I want to jump on the monkey in the room. I'm sorry, the elephant in the room. Tyson Fury, Alexander Usyk being ranked in pound for pound rankings. They're both heavyweights now. So, as if you follow my channel, you understand that I do not rank heavyweights as pound for pound. Pound for pound is a imaginary status that we give to smaller fighters to say if they were larger, like or on the same level as heavyweights, how would they fare by skill level? It is imaginary rankings. It's not anything that's real. And I've always said that heavyweights don't belong in this because they are already of size. They have the size factor, and that they are the biggest, baddest men on the planet. So if you're number 1 or however you rank up in the heavyweight division is how you rank in the world as the top fighters. So Usyk and Tyson Fury, they're already among the top in heavyweight, so they don't need to be put on an imaginary, hypothetical pound for pound ranking. I've always felt that way. I'm gonna remain on that standard unless I see something from a heavyweight. But if I did see that, I would think that they're the baddest man on the planet. So yeah, I guess it's no possibility in which I think that heavyweights deserve to be on a pound for pound ranking. All right, so let's get to the rest of the guys on a pound for pound ranking. And it's a lot of holes, and it's a lot of bias and narratives pushed here. So they said they couldn't rank Errol Spence Jr. in the top. Well, hold on, before I get to that point, Gennady Golovkin came in on this list as number 10. Gennady Golovkin has done nothing since losing to Canelo Alvarez. He's looked very old. He's aged out. And you're still ranking him on a top pound for pound list at number 10, a top 10 pound for pound fighter. What is the criteria? What is the justification to put Triple G on a pound for pound list? He has aged out. That mythical power that he used to have, we've seen that it does not translate to the top of the division. When I say top of the division, when he fought who am I thinking of? Canelo Alvarez, of course, twice. He could knock him out. Also, who else did he fought? He got the knockdown versus Daniel Jacobs, and then he couldn't knock him out. So all that mythical power that he was doing when it was a bum division and it wasn't that many guys or names at middleweight, it was easy for him to run through. That time has passed. So now that he has the top competition, I have not seen enough from Gennady Golovkin to put him on the pound for pound ranking. I'm sorry, he's out of the top 10 pound for pound ranking. I don't see him nowhere near a pound for pound list when you're talking about top 10, top 15, top 20 for Gennady Golovkin, because he's aging out of that ranking fast. I'm sorry I had to go on that little rant. So he doesn't belong on anybody's list. I don't know how ESPN could justify that. Moving on. So Vasyl Lomachenko and Teofimo Lopez. Vasyl Lomachenko, can't justify him being on the top 10 pound for pound list either. As much skills as I hold him in high regard because of the skill level that he has, but when you do not show up in a fight for whatever reason, when you basically just don't show up, you get beat in a fight. The way that he got beat without showing up for so many rounds, you can't justify putting this guy on the top 10 pound for pound. Eventually he can make his way back. It's easy for him to make his way back by fighting top level competition and daring to be great the way that he was before. Fight all the top named competition. He easily get that ranking back. If you win, you beat them, and you beat them in good fashion. If it was a guy that was too big for you and it was his night, it's his night. So Gennady Golovkin, you're off the top 10 pound for, I'm sorry, Vasyl Lomachenko, you're off the top 10 pound for pound list. So Loma does not belong right behind Teofimo Lopez on the top 10. If you want to put Teofimo Lopez in your top 10, I have no problem with that. He's not going to be in my top 10 because I just haven't seen enough. Not saying that he cannot, that he won't be there soon. He can easily get to number 1 ranking, as I've stated before, if he goes out and becomes undisputed at 140 as well. And he can very well do that in his very next fight, possibly, in 2021. So there's room for that guy to grow and be up there. But right now, I don't think that Teofimo Lopez, to me, is the top 10 pound for pound status, because he's only had one good performance on a top level. This was his biggest step up in his career. Though it was against a top 3 pound for pound fighter and he came out victorious, he did not wipe him. Vasyl Lomachenko didn't show up. He didn't outbox him in a masterclass performance. Vasyl Lomachenko just didn't show up. Now, he negated a lot of stuff that Vasyl Lomachenko probably wanted to do because of his power and size, but that doesn't make him a pound for pound top guy. So I cannot justify putting him on my list. Now, you may have some strong points so that you can use to justify putting him on your list, but he doesn't belong in the top 10 on my list, in my opinion as well. So, so I've just named 5 guys that's on this ESPN list that doesn't, and I can make a case why they don't belong on a top 10 pound for pound list. Again, the heavyweights, Usyk and Tyson Fury, the aged out veteran Triple G, who's fought nobody in recent memory of note, and who did I say? Loma. So that's 5 guys. That's 5 guys. So out of the 10 guys that they do have ranked in the top 10 pound for pound, 5 of those guys don't even belong on the list. This shit is ridiculous, but they push narratives and they try to sell you these fighters who's not doing shit, or that don't belong on these lists. And they'll sell it to you anyway just for popularity, because at the end of the day, that's what they try to use the pound for pound list as, a popularity contest. All right, so let's get back to it. Then they try to discredit Errol Spence. So this is what I really wanted to get to on the topic of this video, is the discredit of Errol Spence because of the car accident. What from the car accident has showed you that this guy is not the same guy after the car accident? Nothing. So it's the same way that if you're going to use that basis to judge that he's not the same guy after the car accident, I can say you haven't seen anything to show that he isn't the same guy. Like, so that goes both ways. He hasn't done anything to show, because he hasn't had a fight, and that's been partly because of injury, recovering from the car accident, but it's also partly because of the pandemic. So if you start to say inactivity on Errol Spence's behalf, these other fighters have also been inactive. We look at Canelo Alvarez, and you got him in your top 5 pound for pound, and he hasn't had a fight since 2019. He does not have a fight scheduled in 2020. He doesn't have a fight looming in potential in the next, few months going into 2021. So we don't even know when we'll see Canelo Alvarez again. But you use that criteria of inactivity to justify not placing Errol Spence in particular, because you use that criteria for no other fighter, but you're going to use injury to say that Errol Spence does not belong on a pound for pound, top 5 pound for pound list, when you haven't seen him since he's recovered from injury. But you're going to say that you think that you're leaning and you don't know. Well, you don't know. You don't know one way or the other. So how can you justify, what you're saying? And if you're going to use that criteria on Errol Spence, you're going to have to use that criteria on some of the other guys as well on the list. Loma said he hurt his shoulder in the Teofimo Lopez fight. Do we start to use that to say, well, Loma don't belong on this list because he hurt his shoulder and he's not the same fighter anymore? You see how, you open up Pandora's box and you use those narratives for one fighter, but you won't use those narratives for both fighters. Errol Spence belongs on this list. And you cannot justify it by saying that the accident is the reason that you can't put him on the list, because the inactivity over the past year, when Canelo Alvarez hasn't had the inactivity, and also Loma is claiming that he has an injury as well. So a lot of these fighters have nagging injuries or are hurt going into fights or different things, and it may affect their performance. But you have to judge on what you see. He's coming back from injury, and he's fighting a top 5 welterweight, in my opinion. Top 5 welterweight in Danny Garcia. Former champion, top 5 welterweight. I think he deserves a lot of credit for stepping up and fighting a big name like that in his very next fight. So I'm not going to use inactivity to shun him off the list. Now, let's go to the last topic that I want to get on this particular video, on this pound for pound ranking, because I'm going to do a separate video right after this and just make a couple statements from another little clip of what I've seen on this. But number 1 pound for pound, they have Terence Crawford, and I have told you Terence Crawford was on my top 3, 4, always been for the last few years as arguably number 1 pound for pound. I can no longer justify putting Terence Crawford on as number 1 on a pound for pound list. And let me tell you why. The level of competition, since he's had an ample amount of time to step it up in competition since he's joined the welterweight class. The biggest fighter he's fought to date was Jeff Horn. The biggest name fighter he's fought to date was Amir Khan. And Amir Khan came in and that was a debacle of an event. He laid it down. He quit. It wasn't even a fight, and you should have knew he was going to come in and grab the money and go. That's what, he's known for doing this now. This is his MO. He's not going to give you good fights. I don't even understand why people are still seeking out Amir Khan fights. He's not going to give you good competition in fights. He's not at that level, and that's what I think that you guys were banking on. Him not to give you good competition, but he quit on you, and he really made a debacle of your event. So Amir Khan is a top name that you can find on Terence Crawford's resume. He's fought no other big name welterweight, top 5 in my opinion welterweight. He's been chasing Errol Spence, and we're still waiting on that fight, which they both agreed is gonna happen. What are you doing in the meantime, in between time? Because we see Errol Spence coming off an injury. He's still stepping up and fighting tough competition. Fought Sean Porter, and now he's fighting Danny Garcia. Who are you fighting, Terence Crawford, to maintain the status of #1 pound for pound? You were dropped by a no-name fighter in your last fight, and not to say that means it, but it's a telltale sign of playing down the competition, not having the big name competition, not being as sharp as we've seen you in the past. You're not dominating fights, you're losing rounds, we still yet to see him in there with a top big welterweight. Now he's fighting Kell Brook in a couple weeks, and I think that's going to be a key to see how he does and fare if he wants to jump back to the top of these pound for pound rankings. But right now, can I justify him as #1 pound for pound? It's out of the realm of possibility. Terence Crawford is not today #1 pound for pound. But that's all I got for you. Let me know what you guys thought about these rankings. What are some of the names that you thought was missing from the list? Of course, the Charlos, in which they notably said in this segment that the Charlos were missing over from the list and that they should be on the list. I think both Charlos deserve consideration. Jermell in particular should, because of the performance that he's done over the past 9 fights with KOs over champions. He deserves consideration to be #1 pound for pound, if not, top 5, top 3 pound for pound. Jamal, with the step up in competition, may deserve some consideration for top 10. But as far as Jermell, with the performance that he's done since he's been with Derrick James, the knockout performances of top level competition. KO, that's the performances that he's been delivering. Knockouts. With that said, knockout over the last 2 champions he's facing, Tony Harrison and then Jason Rosario. Those are knockout wins. These are knockouts of the top competition that he's fighting. And you don't see that from any other guy on this pound for pound list, knocking out their top competition that they're fighting. And on a consistent basis. He's been on a hell of a streak. Only hiccup to Tony Harrison in a fight in which was controversial in decision making as from the judges. But aside from that, he's been knocking out everybody else that he's faced. That's Great Spectacle. That's all I got for you for now. Let me know in the comment section how you feel about this pound for pound ranking with ESPN. And I'm on to the next video. I got another one coming out shortly. Similar subject with this pound for pound ranking. That's Dre Spectacle is all I got for you for right now, and I'm out.